There are some things there that are hard to swallow that I didn't enjoy because I used to scream in those early years, why me, why me, why me, why me, and I didn't get an answer, and it took me finally years to do it. And bottom line is, grays in this particular species, I'm not speaking for all of them, very close to the face that I saw here earlier, claim to have genetically altered these ape-like creatures, which I've seen, in a holographic form, not in the physical. And they've it's the time thing that's neat too. But they took frames of certain time periods, and I got to see what it was like, perhaps maybe a few million years ago, maybe a few 100,000 years ago, and these ape-like creatures that don't quite look like a monkey, don't quite look like a person, they claim they genetically altered to make us what we are today.
Are you saying that you experience this a bit like a Star Trek holodeck, like a kind of, like you're in there? No. Okay, sorry. Just explain how it was that they showed this to you.
Excuse me. What we would commonly refer to as like a computer image, only projected out in like a hologram. So you would see it in a frame. And there was many of these hologram type frames, square frame, that would hang in the air of, I've seen many, many thousands of these frames during these experiences.
Okay. So it's like three-dimensional widescreen TV, and you were right in front of it?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And then, and depending on how significant it is, brings in dimension. Now I'm getting into a detailed aspect. If it's two-dimensional, it can almost be like a flat thing, like as if it was a sketch. But sketched, a snapshot sketch. If it had significance or more importance, then it took on some depth. But these ape-like things, according to them, they claim that they genetically manipulated to make us what we are today, which is a part of them, according to them, and a part of what's naturally here.
Okay, so we've been gene spliced with them.
If you want to say gene splice, how exactly they do it?
I don't even know if that's a technical term.
I think, one day that'll come out, and I kind of have a suspicion on how, but nonetheless, I know it's contrary to religion, philosophy, and things of that nature, so that's why I say I was actually very angry for many years over that, but I'm not anymore. That gives them a sense, a right, I don't want to say of ownership, there's not an exact word, there's a responsibility there, even though I'm not very proud of their record as far as being invisible, interaction with us, ambiguous, not knowing what they are, keeping themselves hidden. And if you look at things like the Holocaust and things of that nature, and atomic explosions and what we've been doing, war after war, you would think, well, they're not really taking responsibility. Well, I know better now.
Okay.
I know better now. I understand why.
There's a book that you wrote called The Keepers.
Correct.
Why did you call it The Keepers?
Well, it was initially going to be called Star People. For years, on those early years, I wanted to know who they were. And they don't like to answer questions for various different reasons. There was a time that what struck me with the Star People thing was, I used to have to, in the early years, I would make symbols, and I would have to do exercises, and they would extract semen. They'd do all this traumatic stuff, and I was a good laboratory mouse. There would be reward sessions. There was punishment and reward, where I could get questions answered. There was a time where I knew I had done particularly well, and it was in those early years. So I got to ask a question, and I knew I was going to get an answer. So
this was your reward, to be able to ask a question?
Yes.
Okay, go on.
And my question was, who the hell, who are you? And the response was, Star People. Now, I did not like that answer as a person, because I felt like, what do you think, I'm a monkey and I'm an idiot? Star People, what are you saying? That sounds like some sort of 1950s science fiction. Yeah, Star People. But interesting enough about this intelligence is some of the answers, or most of the answers, are so simple and to the point that it's hard as a human being to accept something simple.
Yeah. I think I'm with you here. The key word there is people.
People.
Yeah.
People.
People.
So, Star People. So, I understood what they meant. They considered themselves people, and when they first told me that, I got on their butts hard.
Right.
Because I'm a people, you're not a people. You're a people, you're a people. You're not, how dare you call yourself a people. But over time, I started breaking down the meaning that, yes, they're from the stars, they consider themselves to be people, or persons, or beings, but they just use the term people. And they travel time, they travel dimension. They've been doing this for tens of thousands of years, so there's no real base for them anymore, so to speak. Not to say that there's something wrong with that. It was a perfect answer. Okay, now, something profound happened to change it to the keepers. I was traveling from Naples, Florida to Fort Myers Beach, where I was living in Fort Myers Beach at the time. And halfway through that route, I saw something just phenomenal, which is not unusual for the technology they have, but I saw a craft that looked like a sailboat, meaning that I saw a sail, and it was going across the road about half a mile or 3/4 of a mile from me. Now, I lived in an area at that time where there's water, and it's not uncommon for there to be a sailboat. And as I was watching the sail, and as I'm driving down the road, and I'm watching the sail go across the road, I then realized I know this part of the area. There's no water here. There's no bridge here. And I'm looking at something as if it was just paved. It was like it's just going through the road. Well, it was the top of what I call a diamond-shaped ship, which is like a pyramid on the top here. So, again, the laws of physics, as we don't understand it, don't apply. That's why some of these things seem to pass through solid matter. There's reports that they fly into volcanoes. And all of these things, nature. They create a field. They can do this. Okay, so that's going to get your attention. When I saw that what it was, it then lifted itself up from the road into the sky. It was huge, quiet, you couldn't hear a thing, and it was hanging there. And I'm looking at this thing, and then the telepathic message was very distinct and very clear. It said, the keepers, and I never came up with the keepers are here to take their people home to a better place. Now, as that was being said, the image beamed in my head very clearly, because they do these kind of things. They can transmit thought, transmit vision. I saw inside what looked like almost like an atrium of them collecting every conceivable seed you can imagine of life. Semen, ova, plant seeds, animal extractions, blood, and all categorized and all put in high-tech ways. So they're collecting the stuff. Now, what did that mean to take their people home to a better place? They refer to themselves, though, however, distinctly and clearly as the keepers. Now, what I take that ship to be, and over the years, is something like a beacon ship, meaning that in the cosmos there is a galactic neighborhood, and they don't fight each other in general. It's telepathic. Even if you have one agenda, they have another agenda. Now we're talking about evolved. You, in your journeys as a species, let's say you're a gray, and let's say I'll be the human being in this case. In my journeys in the cosmos, we may come across the path of a ship that we don't know what it's doing. So when that particular ship, which is like a robot ship, so to speak, when it picks up an approach by something that may be part of what it's doing or not what it's doing, it identifies